When you think of early Christianity, what comes to mind? Rome? Power? Expansion and conquest? Most people have Europe at the center of the story. But what if I told you that one of the first and most powerful Christian empires wasn't in Europe at all, but actually in Africa? Hidden in the highlands, far from the spotlight of Western history, Ethiopia was one of the first nations to embrace Christianity as its official faith. This was long before the majority of Europe. Yet somehow, that part of the story is rarely told. Why do you think that is? Let's rewind almost 2,000 years. When people talk about the rise of Christianity, the story usually starts with Jesus and the apostles in Jerusalem. Then it jumps straight to Rome, when Constantine legalized Christianity in the 4th century. But this smooth, Western-centric timeline leaves out a crucial chapter: the story of Aksum. Aksum wasn't just another kingdom. It was one of the world's most dominant powers at the time, on the same level as empires like ancient Rome and Egypt. Sitting between Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, it controlled some of the world's most valuable trade routes, moving goods like gold, ivory, and silk between distant civilizations. Picture a thriving hub of trade and power, with ships arriving non-stop, towering obelisks that dominated the skyline, and a king with power rivaling an Egyptian pharaoh. So how does this connect to Christianity? Around the year 330 AD, about the same time as Constantine's rule, a young king named Ezana ruled Aksum. Ezana was raised as a traditional polytheist, but despite all of Aksum's power, the whole kingdom was changed with a single accident at sea. Long before King Ezana ever touched a cross, a young boy named Frumentius was traveling from Syria when disaster struck. His ship was wrecked along the Red Sea coast, and instead of dying with the voyage, he was taken inland into the heart of Aksum. What should have been the end of his story became the beginning of Ethiopia's Christian legacy. A shipwreck left a young boy stranded, but instead of being lost to history, he found himself in one of the most powerful kingdoms of the ancient world. Over time, Frumentius earned trust, wisdom, and influence, eventually becoming a teacher and close advisor to Ezana, who was a young prince at the time. Frumentius introduced the faith to the royal court, and eventually, this guidance influenced Ezana to make a life-altering decision. He converted to Christianity and made it the state religion of Aksum. This means Ethiopia was officially Christian about the same time as Rome, and some historians even argue maybe a little earlier. But here's something you don't often hear. Ethiopia's Christian roots may trace back even further. According to the New Testament, in the book of Acts, there's a story about a royal official from Ethiopia traveling to Jerusalem and being baptized by Philip the Evangelist. This event happened decades before Christianity was legalized anywhere. Historians debate exactly who this official was. Many Ethiopians have long believed that he brought Christianity home, well before Europe had even heard the word. How does a story this significant get forgotten? Why is Ethiopia's early Christian legacy barely mentioned? A big part of the reason is perspective. For centuries, much of what we call history was written through a Western lens. This placed the focus on Europe and sections of the Middle East, while Africa was often reduced to a footnote. But while history overlooked it, Ethiopia didn't stand still. For centuries, its church grew on its own terms, developing traditions, architecture, and worship that looked nothing like what emerged in Europe. Take their Bible, for example. While most modern Bibles contain either 66 or 73 books, the Ethiopian Bible has 81. It preserves more ancient texts that others left out, with one of the most well-known being the Book of Enoch, a work filled with vivid accounts of fallen angels, cosmic judgment, and early spiritual mysteries that shaped ancient belief. That same uniqueness carries into every part of their worship. Their sacred chants, known as Zema, have echoed throughout ancient churches, while celebrations like Timkat bring entire communities together in a vibrant celebration of Jesus' baptism. Even their written tradition stands apart. The Ethiopian church developed and preserved its own script, Ge'ez, still used in liturgy today. An entire language, not just spoken, but sustained across centuries for the sole purpose of worship. The question is, how did something this rich remain so unknown? Part of it is geography. Ethiopia's landscape is as formidable as it is beautiful. It features highlands that rise above the clouds, and it is surrounded by mountains and deserts. This natural isolation earned it the name Roof of Africa, but it also made travel and outside access difficult for centuries. Another, perhaps more significant, reason appeared later. During the age of colonization, European historians often told the story of the world in a way that centered Europe, elevating its influence while minimizing or overlooking others. Entire civilizations were pushed to the margins, not because they lacked significance, but because they didn't fit the narrative being written. On top of that, Ethiopia stood at the crossroads of powerful neighbors. Ongoing tensions with Islamic empires to the north and interactions with Catholic Europe to the west created both pressure and distance. This isolation, in a way, protected Ethiopia's traditions, but it also meant their story stayed largely hidden from the rest of the world. So what does this ancient story matter today? Ethiopia's Christian church endured famines, shifting dynasties, and repeated invasions, yet they held onto a faith that existed long before most of Europe's churches. And today, for millions of Ethiopians, those roots aren't distant history. They're part of everyday life. Recognizing Ethiopia's early role in Christianity forces us to question whose stories get heard and whose get sidelined. It shows that some of the world's oldest Christian traditions aren't only found in Rome or Jerusalem, and that the history of Christianity is richer and more diverse than most of us have ever been told. So the next time someone asks you where Christianity began to thrive, you'll know to look beyond the usual narratives and remember the faithful empires and communities that flourished on Africa's ancient roof. If you found this interesting, consider liking the video and subscribing for more.